This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Hey, thanks for watching. Kevin Trudeau here. Everything they don't want you to know about that will improve the quality of your life, your standard of living, and by the end of the show, you're going to feel better than you do right now. Thanks for joining me. What am I today? Somebody said that I'm like an egotistical maniac because I have all these... They don't get the joke? It's like, are they an idiot? He has these plaques with all these things, calling himself the world's best mentor and a marketing genius. What an egotistical maniac bragging about himself the first 10 minutes. And I'm like, lighten up, man. Uptight. It's called comedy. Obviously, this guy doesn't have a sense of humor. Relax. Calm down. And then, heaven forbid I say anything adverse about the Bible. I got a Bible right here. Praise the Lord. Now, someone's going to say, I mocked Jesus because I just said praise the Lord. And they're going to tell me in the comments that I'm going straight to hell because I have not accepted Jesus in my life as his personal Savior. Well, first off, are you a psychic? Because how would you know if I have or have not accepted Jesus into my life as my personal Savior? Do you know? Are you psychic? Do you have a plaque that says your name and psychic underneath? I don't think so. If you did, then... But you don't. You don't know. I can see into your field, but you can't see into mine. Oh, there's a couple of you. Gary Spivey. Hi, Gary. I know Gary always watches. He can see. Welcome. You got to choose love, man. You know, in this Bible here, which the reason I have these spiritual books off to the side, what do I got? I got the Ramayana, the Mahabharata or Mahabharata in the Bible. I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I mentioned I'm going to start doing a Sunday church show. Sunday spiritual show. And I'm going to be exposing things in the spiritual text that will blow your mind, open up your mind, and hopefully open up your heart too, and fill it with love. There was an NFL player the other day who his face was full of hatred at RFK because RFK joined Trump. And he was like, I can't believe that he went with that evil, egotistical, narcissist, misogynist, Donald Trump. Rah! And on the back of this guy's helmet, in the NFL football player, it says, choose love. I was watching him scream with hatred, and I felt like saying, time out, time out, time out. I'm gonna throw the yellow flag. If it was regular football, I would have showed the yellow card. You get a yellow card. Penalty. Read what's on the back of your helmet. It says choose love. Man, lighten up. Choose love. Criticism, judgment, hatred. It's not going to serve you. It's not going to give you things in life that you want. As a matter of fact, it's going to give you liver stones. It's going to give you, remember when I had the show a few weeks ago, with Cindy Sellers, the director, the founder of Angel Farms, the health rejuvenation clinic in Hilo, Hawaii, world-class facility that miracles happen when people leave there. People have gone in with cancers, left no cancers. People have gone in with tumors, left no tumors. People's eyesight has improved. People's hair was starting to go gray and it got darker. People's wrinkles went away. Posture improved. Lower back pain went away. All types of physical ailments. There are people who went in as a diabetic, left 12 days later, not a diabetic. Toxins come out of the system, but one of the major things that she cleanses out of the system is judgments that you have, criticisms that you have against other people, things that you have against people that you haven't forgiven and haven't let go. Is it worth it? Relax. Man, just relax. Life can be beautiful. Now, today is going to be a very interesting show. I've got some interesting things to share with you. The first thing is I mentioned something, and I've gotten a barrage of comments about it. I mentioned something called the image makers, which the image makers around the world are experts in an ancient science. It's called the secret science of images. The CIA knows it, the KGB knows it, Madison Avenue, the advertising executives around the world know it. In the Brotherhood, we studied it. It was actually a course of study in that secret society. How to influence people without words, but with images. Just images, because images has been the way that the people in power have influenced the masses for thousands of years. Remember, most people for thousands of years could not read or write. Thus, images had to be created so that the people in power maintained that control and power over the population. And I will give you one example of an image which keeps the people in power in power. Stairs. You look at the temples in Greece or around the world. The priest or the pharaoh or the king or the sultan, the person in power, would be at the top of whatever the edifice was. And in order to get there, you had to go upstairs to get to this person. And this person was representative of God or representative of power, representative of whatever. This is an image. The image is that when you look up to a person, they have more power than you. It instantly makes that happen inside of you on a subconscious level. And the reason is, it is an instinct. If you are a person, man or woman, and you're 5 feet 10 inches tall, I don't know how many centimeters that is, and you look at a person who is 6 foot 5 feet tall, I don't know how many centimeters that is, you'd be looking up like this. That person is bigger, weighs more, and is stronger, thus has automatically more power over you. Automatically, it's an instinct. The bigger, stronger, taller, more powerful person has more power over you. They're stronger than you. They're bigger than you. They are more powerful than you. Thus, you automatically cower down and do what they say out of fear. It's an instinct. It's in your DNA. Thus, look around today when you go to a courtroom, the federal courts, the state courts. You have to walk up the stairs of the building to get into the courtroom. Look at all the stairs. You have to walk up to get to the government officials. But it gets even worse. Think about a courtroom. I'm familiar with that. You know, we know today that the justice departments around the world are weapons used by those in power to prosecute and persecute political enemies. We know this. We heard the Nixon tapes. If you haven't heard them and you don't recall, President Nixon in 1972, I think, 71, 1970, somewhere around there, was having a cabinet meeting in the Oval Office. And on the Nixon tapes, he has some political opponents, people that he doesn't like, and he has some corporate executives that are doing things that he doesn't like. And in the meeting, the chief of staff comes in, and it was almost like in The Godfather, when the Godfather, Vito Corleone, is sitting there and the consigliere comes in. He goes, I got a list of people that need favors from you. godfather. So the chief of staff comes into the room with President Nixon, and he says, we got some people here, Mr. President, that we need to handle. They're causing us some problems. And Nixon says, okay, who's the first one? Gives him the name. And Nixon says, okay, who are we going to send after him? And the chief of staff says, well, the IRS can find something on him. We can definitely get prison time if we send the IRS after him. Now, we use the IRS all the time. What's another agency we can use? Oh, well, he's got a large farm, so if we send the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they'll be able to find some violation, and I'm sure that'll get him some prison time. Good. Send the EPA after him. Who's the next guy on the list? That's how it works. So I can imagine a meeting that it says, Steve Bannon, who are we going to send after him? Donald Trump, who are we going to send after him? Who else is on this list we need to get? Kevin Trudeau, who are we going to send after him? Send the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Food and Drug Administration. They sent those guys after me. They couldn't find anything. The FTC couldn't find anything either. I can imagine the next meeting. Well, we sent the two assassins after Trudeau, but they missed. What is he, like Peter Sellers in Inspector Clouseau? All the assassins miss him? He's just plays the fool. He's actually a brilliant man. Any ideas? How can we get Trudeau? He didn't commit any crimes. Didn't we send the IRS after him? Yes. They actually had an office in his building that he paid for in his offices for 3 years. They audited everything and couldn't find anything. Well, actually, they did find something. We owed him $3 million. That was the best one, because I always overpay on my taxes. So if the idiots come in and do an audit, I like, come on in. I'll set you up in a nice, beautiful office. You can drink my expensive coffee. We'll give you free water, bottled water, good water, no fluoride. Have a nice time. You need a secretary? No problem. Give you a nice private covered parking space. Have a nice time. Audit my books, please. The guy's slabbering like, oh no, I got Trudeau now. All of a sudden it's like, we owe you $3 million, Mr. Trudeau. Yeah, I know. Thank you very much. I overpay. Don't be playing games with me on the IRS. Oh, they can't. They can try. And then they sent the Food and Drug Administration, and people forget this. You didn't know this, Trey. That the Food and Drug Administration was sent after me because I did the heinous crime. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I committed a heinous crime. I'll tell you what it was. So ashamed. So ashamed. Went on TV and I said, calcium is good for you. Oh, I'm so sorry I did that. I told people that they should take calcium. Oh, why did I do such a thing? I said calcium is good for your health. So I had a bottle of calcium, and the source came from Okinawa, Japan, coral calcium. And for those people who say, don't take coral calcium because it's destroying the coral reefs. Have you ever been to Okinawa, Japan and watched how the coral calcium is harvested? No. What do you think we do? Do you think we send divers in with picks and shovels and we start destroying the coral reef under the water? Oh, we're going to destroy the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, or we're going to go to Okinawa and we're going to destroy. No, we take chainsaws and we destroy the living coral. Are you insane? No. The coral breaks off naturally with the waves. And when it breaks off, it becomes sand on the bottom of the ocean. Some of that sand then comes up on the beach. So the sand that's on the beach, that's being bleached by the sun, that's coral calcium. It's calcium that comes from coral reefs, which means it has other minerals in it as well. If the sand is in the ocean and hasn't been washed up on the beach yet, that's called marine coral calcium because it's in the ocean and therefore it's absorbing all the minerals in the seawater. And all you do is we just go in there and dredge up the sand that's on the bottom of the ocean under the water. We don't touch the coral reef. We're not hurting the coral reef. And it's a form of calcium. There's a lot of different forms of calcium, calcium citrate, calcium manganate. There's a whole bunch of different ones. I may have pronounced that incorrectly. Carbonate, calcium carbonate. And there's a whole bunch of different forms. In the beginning, the forms were eggshells, where they would take an eggshell, grind it up into a powder, and put it in a capsule. Another one was oyster shells. They take a hard oyster shell, grind it up into a powder, put it in a capsule, and you'd take it. The argument was you're eating rocks, and therefore it's probably not absorbable. If you're getting your calcium from a vegetable source, it's probably going to be more absorbable, absorbed into the body easier. I'm not sure where the scientific research is on that, but it's a good argument. Coral calcium is also hard, but it's not a rock like an eggshell or an oyster shell. So arguably, it can be assimilated easier. I don't know the scientific data one way or the other, but it's a good theory that it also has other minerals from the ocean, and therefore it's at least a valuable, viable source. And somebody would say, but how do humans get it if you're not dredging it up? Well, in places where there is a lot of coral, islands like Okinawa are actually built on a coral. In other words, the island itself is coral. It's no longer living. When you plant things there, it's absorbing all the calcium from the coral. So actually, probably the plants from places that are built on coral might be one of the better sources of calcium. But I said that calcium, taking any type of calcium, is good for you. The FDA, and I don't know if you know this, and I know, Trey, you don't know this, right here in Illinois, right down the street, at our offices, we had a warehouse with cases of coral calcium that we were selling. And we had a staff of about 15 or 20 people at the time, mostly ladies who were doing secretarial work. And this is a true story. I'm not exaggerating this. Maybe there's a little hyperbole here, but it's a true story. The FDA agents came to our office unannounced with machine guns. They, like a SWAT team, they rushed in all the doors, and I'm not sure, but I think they kicked in a side door. With guns drawn, get on the ground, get on the ground. And the ladies were, pissing themselves in fear. This is the United States government that's here to help you. These agents, and they do this all the time. They did it to Bannon. They did it to Rudy Giuliani. They've done it to Democrats. They've done it to Republicans. Whoever is in power using the agencies. The FBI comes at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning and breaks the door down. All they have to do is call the lawyer and say, we want to set up a meeting. There's no problem. But they want the cameras there. And CNN happens just to magically know that this raid is going to happen so they can put it on the evening news. This is staged. This is the image makers. This is why I'm talking about the image makers. They get you to believe something, and it's all staged. So they came into my office, broke the door. This is 15 years ago, with guns drawn, machine guns, threw everybody on the ground. Horrifying. And they were screaming, and I'm not making this up, they were screaming, "Where's the calcium? Where's the calcium? Where's the calcium?" It's not like where's the meth? Where's the crack cocaine? Where's the heroin? Where's the cache of weapons? Where's the bomb? No, it's where's the calcium? It's like, in the warehouse. It says calcium on it. Leave me alone. It's calcium. They have the machine guns because they were afraid that the calcium was going to resist arrest. They came in and confiscated the very dangerous, very violent calcium, bottles of calcium, which went quietly with the FDA. And what was the reason for this? They said that there was a word on the label that was incorrect. A word on the label that was incorrect. That justified machine guns drawn, throwing ladies, honest, hardworking women on the ground, guns to their head, screaming at the top of their lungs, "Where's the calcium?" And it just happened that the news happened to be there for the secret unannounced raid, which means they were informed so they could capture the image so it could be on the evening news with a picture of me. And the picture of me was not, hey. The picture of me was a snapshot of me doing something like this. Right? So they get this horrible picture or something like, Kevin, and it was a picture 5 years ago, like when I was catching a fish. But they put it, that picture that's 5 years old, me looking like I'm an idiot, next to the image of, where's the calcium? Trudeau office raided for illegal calcium. And the picture of me, this is creating an image, isn't it? And then when I walk down the street, people say, oh, that's the guy, he's the drug dealer. Do you understand that? People would call me the drug dealer. I go, what are you talking about? I saw you in the news. You got raided for drugs. No. Our office was raided for calcium. No, they're not going to have machine guns and SWAT units for a vitamin or a mineral, something you can buy in a health food store. You had to be selling drugs, right? I mean, it had to be in the calcium bottles. That's what people thought because of the image makers. You understand this? So let's go back to the court, which is what I started this conversation. Then I'm going to show you something about the image makers. When you go to a courthouse, they have the steps. But do you notice that the judge is sitting 3 feet higher than everybody else in the court? It's the image. He's God. He's all powerful. He comes out and all rise. Why on God's green earth is that required to uphold the law? That everybody in the audience of a courtroom, when the judge walks in, that everybody must rise. I'm not surprised that we don't have to bow. Your Honor, I'm surprised. When you go to church, the priest on the altar is always higher. It's always about the position. The image makers know the secret science of images, and you don't have to say anything. This has happened in the last 3 weeks. Joe Biden decided that he's not going to run for president, and he's going to say Kamala Harris can take over. And Kamala Harris, or Camilla, or Kamala, or Kaminga, is it pronounced Kamala? It's got to be pronounced Kamala, right? Come on, Kamala. Jesus, I got it wrong again. Oh no, Bible, I said the word. I said Jesus. Sorry. Someone's going to write it in the comments. Kevin is spiritually corrupt. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I love you, baby. You hate me. I love you unconditionally. Who's spiritually corrupt? But you're holding your Bible, which you will have no problem throwing at me or beating me over the head with, as you say, you are spiritually corrupt. I love Jesus. You, Kevin, are spiritually corrupt. I love you still. Turn the other cheek. You remember that paragraph? Page? Word. So Kamala. Now I got it right? Did I get it right? I'm not going to be blistered and I'm not going to be taken off YouTube because I gave misinformation. Trudeau is banned from YouTube because he's providing misinformation regarding the pronunciation of Ms. Harris. Do we say Mrs. Harris or is it Ms.? Which is, I'm going to offend somebody, right? All right, I'm going to offend somebody. Kamala. Kamala? Kamala. Kamala. All right, I got it. So Kamala Harris was not elected by anybody. As you know, she ran for president, and out of 20 people that were running for president, her numbers were so low. I think herself and her husband and some of the family members voted for her in the primary. She was the first person to withdraw from the primary because of her poor numbers, which means of the 20 people that were running for the presidential Democratic nomination, she came in last out of 20, dead last. Okay. So now she's given the presidential nominee without getting a single vote. No problem. This is how the Democratic political process works. Very democratic. Hi, we're the Democratic Party and we don't believe in democracy. We're not going to allow any votes for Kamala Harris. We're just going to give her the nomination for president. And then here's the best part. Now, by the way, if you want to vote for her, if you like her policies, we can debate policy all day long. I'm not talking about policy here. I'm talking about the image makers, the mainstream media. They want desperately her to be in office. I was in the Bilderberg meetings. I know where this is going. It's not for the betterment of the masses, generally speaking. Where it's going is so that the people in power maintain their control and power over the rest of the population, and you never have any chance. Unelected officials run everything. Censorship out of control. That's how it works. So the image makers. So Kamala gets, now think about this. Biden says, I'm not going to run anymore for president, and I'm going to recommend that Kamala be the Democratic nominee for president. Since that date, which I think is 8 weeks ago? Somewhere around there? About 8 weeks ago. It's 2 months ago. Since that date, Kamala Harris has not done one interview. Not one. She's given a few speeches where she read the teleprompter, and that's it. She's taken no questions from the press, and her poll numbers go up. How is that possible? It's possible because the image makers aren't using words. They can't. They have to use images to get you to like her and hate Trump. So I'm the image maker, and I'm sitting there going, all right, how do we get people to like Kamala Harris and hate Trump? Well, we can't let Kamala speak because that'll be a disaster. People won't like her. She'll be crucified. If she's asked questions, she's not going to be able to answer them. How does she answer the question? You were put in charge of border security. Yes. How come tens of millions more illegal immigrants have come in since you were in charge? How do you justify that? Her only response is, next question, please, because you can't explain that. You just said that prices were much better for people when Trump was president. You were vice president. How do you justify that all the prices that people have to pay for goods and services are higher? You just said that all grocery store prices were much lower when Trump was president. You've been in office now as part of the administration. You've been in charge, and the prices have skyrocketed. Why should we give you the job to continue? You're obviously failing at it. How do you answer that? So you can't. So the image makers say, we need to basically use images that we know people will gravitate toward, create affinity with, and subconsciously make an individual like Kamala. And we need to show images of Kamala that do that. And we need to show images of Trump that make people hate him. Since Biden has said he's not running for president and he turned it over to Kamala 8 weeks ago, there have been thousands of pictures of Kamala in the news. ABC News, NBC News, CBS News, the BBC, PBS, Public Broadcasting Service, MSNBC, Google News, Apple News, Newsmax, all over the world. Thousands of images of Kamala Harris have been shown. And here's what they all look like. Let's take a look at this. Smiling, happy, lighthearted. Smiling. Oh, I'm so happy. Smiling. Oh, another smiling one. And look at, she's smiling and laughing and so happy and upbeat and positive. Smiling. Smiling. Oh, thank you for the applause. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'm so funny. Yes. We love funny people, by the way. Oh, we like Kamala. Now here's Trump. Oh. And here's one side by side. Somebody's picking those on purpose. Another one. They're picking these on purpose. They pick the worst pictures of Trump and the best pictures of Kamala. And these pictures are the ones that are side by side in the news article. This is done on purpose. And you're falling for it. Oh, I like Kamala. For some reason, I like her and I don't like Trump. No kidding. Look at the image that they're throwing at you. They do the same thing with RFK. There are thousands of pictures of RFK where he's smiling and looks handsome, but these are the pictures that they pick. I'm RFK. I'm asleep. I'm RFK. They pick the worst pictures, and this is what they're showing you, so that you hate him too. I can show you thousands of them. You can't find a good picture of Trump in the news. And it's almost impossible to find a bad picture of Kamala. You can't find a good picture of RFK. And I'm telling you something. The people in charge of these agencies are doing it on purpose. They sit in the room and the conversations go like this. We have to make Trump look bad. I want bad pictures of him. Yes, sir. We need to make Kamala look good. I want pictures where she looks pretty and beautiful and presidential and happy and I want a lot of smiling pictures. The research shows that people like individuals who smile. This was a big thing when Jimmy Carter became president. He was going to be president because he had that big smile with all those teeth. Back when he first put in his name into the race, when he was last in the polls. Jimmy Carter from Georgia. I'm a peanut farmer, and I'm going to run for president. And everyone laughed at him. And there was one pollster who said he's going to win because he has the best smile. And if the image makers put pictures of Jimmy Carter in the news and in the newspaper with him smiling, he'll win the election. He went from last to president because of that. Same thing with Barack Obama. They picked him because of his smile. People love individuals who smile. The image makers are picking smiling pictures. They don't pick pictures of me or Robert F. Kennedy or Alex Jones. You look at a picture of Alex Jones on the news. They never have one of him smiling. He's always like, ah! I mean, it's like, look, okay, he does that once in a while. And so does Trump, and so do I. But there's most of the time I'm smiling. Here's poor Alex. They pick a picture like that of him. So what I do when I come out of the court, people don't know this. When I come out of the court, all the cameras are there. So I'm about to come out of the court, and here's what I do. They have no choice. And I'm looking at all the reporters. Hey! And they're snapping pictures. And you know what? They look at me and they go, "You won't give us a bad picture, will you, Kevin?" That's what they said. "You won't give us a bad... God, I get paid more if I get a bad picture of you. You know that." Guy says to me. I said, "Yeah, I know you do." I said, "But I ain't giving it to you. You're going to have to put a good picture of me in the paper." So the next day, I'm in the front page of the Chicago Tribune. Kevin Trudeau comes out of federal court. The image makers are controlling you every single day. These are the actual conversations that they have. When you look at the pictures, so the reason why I'm saying this, by the way, is I want you to now going forward. I'm empowering you. I'm revealing how the magic trick is done. Once I tell you how the magic trick is done, you come out of your trance and it no longer has effect on you. Yes, it still has effect because resistance is actually futile. But if you actually raise your consciousness and awareness, you can come out of this trance. So when you look at the news, look, if you get your phone, whatever, and you start looking at Google News, Apple News, Newsmax, what are some of the other news agencies that people catch their news on when they go on their phone?
MSNBC would be one.
MSNBC, CNN, Fox,
Yeah.
The major news ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people catch their news from these agencies on their phone. Some people still read a newspaper or a magazine. Some people still watch the news on television. Look at the images that those agencies are showing you. Now, if you look at the most left-wing agency, it's probably MSNBC. And if you look at the most right-wing, it's Fox. Look at the images of Donald Trump on MSNBC and look at the images on Donald Trump on Fox. It's night and day because Fox is trying to produce some positive images of Trump and MSNBC is trying to produce negative images of Trump. Think about it. This is how you're being manipulated. They do the same thing with the war in Ukraine. Look at the images they're selecting. The same thing with the war that's going on in Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians. Horrible, horrible. The human suffering is horrific. And everybody is suffering. The Israelis are suffering. The Palestinians are overwhelmingly suffering at this point. Nobody can deny that. And then we have Hezbollah. The people in Lebanon are suffering. Where's the compassion? Choose love. So we love them. We love them. Even if they're suffering, we still have to love everyone. But look at the images that are being selected and ask yourself, why did somebody select this image? What are they trying to make me feel and think? This is how you can come out of your trance. If you realize that you are being controlled and manipulated by the image makers, when you realize that, then you can take control of your life and you will no longer be manipulated or controlled by those parasitical elites that want to keep you a slave. Here's more proof. Article. New January 6 footage reveals Pelosi's focus on Trump in hours after the insurrection. The morning after January 6th, which is when the Capitol was attacked, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was clear. She wanted the attention to be on getting Donald Trump out of office. Now, this is significant because you are going to see behind the curtain. I have been behind the curtain. I have been in these rooms. I have been in the back seat of cars where these conversations go on. I know. And now we have the actual evidence on video. While in the car on her way to the Capitol, Pelosi's senior advisor, Drew Hamill, was reading the speaker a draft of Pelosi's opening remarks. In other words, Pelosi doesn't even write what she says. It's written for her. That's the first thing that should make you go, huh? So when I'm watching politicians speak, are you telling me that they're just reading a script that was handed to them? Yes. They didn't write it. So Pelosi, on her way to the Capitol, is in the car. Her senior advisor calls her and reads to Pelosi the script that she's going to read as her opening remarks. And you can hear it in the video because he's reading it over the phone. And she has speakerphone. The remarks that Pelosi is supposed to read includes a call for the resignation of the Capitol Police Chief. Pelosi stops her senior advisor. Pelosi says, quote, "I think our focus has to be on Trump. Let's not divert ourselves." This goes on and on and on. So let me paraphrase it. Somebody writes the remarks for politicians, they read the script. The remarks were that Pelosi was to be outraged at the chief of the Capitol Police Department for letting this happen, which is true. The guy who's responsible is the chief of police. He was the one in charge of security for the Capitol. He's Capitol Police Chief. It was his watch. It was 100% his responsibility. The fact that there was an outrageous demonstration and people breached security at the Capitol, there's one person alone who was responsible for the security of the Capitol, and that's the police chief. So her remarks were to call for his resignation, which is insane because in government you can't fire anybody. They just get reassigned. All the Secret Service guys who botched the job on the Trump assassination attempt, nobody gets fired. They get reassigned. If that was in real life, they get fired. But in the government, you can't fire anybody. They can be completely dumb, stupid, and incompetent, but nobody gets fired. We don't want to hurt their feelings. Just let the guy get assassinated. Be completely incompetent, don't do your job, be lazy, have sex with prostitutes, do all these things. Nobody gets fired in the Secret Service. They get reassigned. So you can't fire. If my head of security, when I do a speech, I hire somebody and say, you're the head of security. Your job is to make sure that my area, my hotel suite, the green room behind the stage is secure and nobody breaches this. That is your job. Yes, sir, Mr. Trudeau. You don't have to salute me. This is not the military. Yes, sir, Mr. Trudeau. Well, don't give me a thumbs up either. That's kind of goofy. Yes, sir, Mr. Trudeau. That's better. I'm the head of security. Nobody will breach the perimeter. Thank you. And if somebody breaches the perimeter and comes into my green room asking for an autograph, guess what I do? I call the head of security and I say, "You're fired because you didn't do your job. How did that guy get in?" "I don't know." Okay, well, you didn't do your job. Not only are you fired, I'm not going to pay you. That's what you do. So this guy, who's the chief of police for security of the Capitol, he fails. He doesn't do his job. They breach security. So Pelosi is going to ask for his resignation. You should have been fired. But Pelosi doesn't want that. She's an image maker and a professional image maker, and I applaud her. Nancy, I've never met you. I disagree with many of your policies, but I applaud you for your political brilliance throughout your entire career. You are a master politician, and I respect and admire you for that. You are a master at manipulating images and manipulating and controlling people's thoughts and feelings. An absolute master. And I would encourage you to write a book on how you did it and how you do it and teach others that skill and art as well. But I know you won't because you want to keep it a secret. But she's in the back, and this is all on tape. And she basically says, "No, I don't want to mention the chief of police. I want to blame it on Trump." It's all about creating an image that Trump was the problem. Why? Because she knows Trump is going to fight the election results. I don't want to give misinformation. She knows that Trump is going to fight the results of that election. And if he doesn't win his fight, he will run for president again. So she wants to right now try to destroy him and link him 100% to January 6th. She has a clear plan. I need to make the January 6th demonstration, for which there were a few idiots who broke into the Capitol, and I want to turn it, and I'm going to call it an insurrection. And I'm going to put Trump as the leader of this insurrection. That's what she says on the phone. Because she's creating an image, and she wants particular photos, she wants particular video footage used to create this image. It's all about using imagery to get people to feel a certain way, and also to distract them from the real issues. We have around the world elections between this guy and this person, this woman against that woman, this woman against that guy. It doesn't matter. One person against another, one party against another. If you notice, the discussions are always about insane, irrelevant, immaterial subjects. Nobody discusses the real subjects. If I was questioning the presidents in a debate, I wouldn't say, "What do you feel about so-and-so's personal attacks against women?" That has nothing to do with running president. He may be a jerk. That's fine. The questions are, what policies are you going to implement? And how are those policies going to improve the standard of living and quality of life for citizens of the country you want to become president of? That's the first series of questions. And the second one is, how do you plan on implementing those? Those may be great ideas, but how do you think you can actually get those goals accomplished? Because maybe you have the great idea, but you're terrible at politics and can't actually get it accomplished. So there's only two elements that you want to discuss with the candidates and decide who you're going to vote for. What are your policies? how are those policies going to impact me and change or affect my life? And how is it going to make my life better? How is it going to improve the quality of my life and my own standard of living? And then how are you going to implement that or try to implement that so that it actually will happen? And it's not just a good campaign speech. People forget George Bush. He was given a script and he loved the line. And they said, yes, this is going to be our line. Read my lips. No new taxes. And there was one time, the first time he said it, his advisors reported that President Bush was skeptical about this line. He goes, it sounds too hokey. Read my lips, no new taxes. And after a long discussion, they convinced him to try it. And he did it very begrudgingly. So he's on his first campaign, and he gets to that line in the teleprompter, because he's just reading what they wrote for him. And it said, and read my lips, no new taxes. And everybody goes crazy. Yeah! And all of a sudden, he looks up and goes, yeah, I like that line. And then every speech hereafter, when he gets to it, he puts a big smile on his face. And read my lips. No new taxes. Yeah! And he looks around to his advisors going, yeah, it worked. These stupid people love that. We're not going to, we have no intent of keeping taxes the way. Of course we're going to raise taxes. But they love the line. So that's the question that I would ask. The point is image makers. So with that in mind, I'm going to change from becoming the world's best mentor. And actually, for the last few minutes, I was also a former insider. See, it says former insider? Okay. But I'm going to change that. And I'm going to piss a few people off right now. I am now going to become, someone's going to write in the comments, he's an egotistical maniac. A movie critic. You know what someone's going to write, Trey? Someone's going to write, what qualifies him to be a movie critic? Well, clearly I qualify because I have this, what do they call this? A plaque? It's not a plaque, it's a placard. A name plaque. See, since I have a name plaque where it says movie critic, therefore I am. Okay, I'm Kevin Trudeau, movie critic. So what movie am I going to recommend as movie critic? A movie that's going to tell you about the image makers. And I'm going to recommend a spectacular movie. Actually, it's not a very good movie. I watched it the other day just to remind myself of it. And it's not the best movie in the world, although it's okay to watch. You're not going to shut it off several times to go make a sandwich. You can actually sit there and watch the entire movie, maybe. But the movie is actually based, now listen to me, this movie that I'm going to recommend is based on a true story. And it's actually not based on a true story. It is inspired by a true, real set of circumstances. If you know that, now they don't say that in the movie. They say it's completely fictionalized. I can tell you from firsthand experience that this movie that I'm going to recommend teaches you what they do in Washington, how the image makers work, and it is inspired by true events, 100% true events. And you'll see some of the glimpses in there going, wait a minute, that looks like Bill Clinton, that looks like Monica Lewinsky, that looks like this, that looks like that. Wait a minute. It's not timelined perfectly, but there are true events in there that inspired the making of this movie. And it is a fictionalized movie. But each event that is described actually happened. The movie is called Wag the Dog. Wag the Dog. And it has Dustin Hoffman in it, and also Robert De Niro, who is a massive Trump hater. Bobby De Niro, you are one of the greatest actors of all time. I love your work. Your political views are your own, and I respect them 100%. Choose love. Stop hating. You can disagree with anyone you want, but choose love. It's only hurting you, my friend. Love. Disagree, debate, but always love. So wag the dog. You check that out. It will open your eyes to the truth, and many of you are going to scratch your head and say, that can't be happening. I just read to you what Nancy Pelosi was caught doing. I showed you what's right in front of your own eyes with the hundreds of pictures of Kamala, all with a big smile, and the hundreds of pictures with Trump, not one of them smiling or showing teeth. That's on purpose. I showed you, well, I didn't play them, but the Nixon tapes, which have been in the news and so forth. There's too many hours to find the exact, but this was played in documentaries with David Frost, where Nixon says specifically, when given a list of political enemies, as well as corporate executives and people that are anti-Nixon, Nixon is going after them. And he weaponizes the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, as well as the Department of Justice, and says, find a crime. In one case, he says, send the FBI after him. Have them find a crime and get him indicted. This is the President of the United States doing what the dictator Joseph Stalin did. Remember, Joseph Stalin's chief prosecutor said to Joseph Stalin publicly, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. In other words, the chief prosecutor told Joseph Stalin, if you have an enemy, just give me the guy's name. Give me her name. I'll have her indicted. I'll have him indicted. I'll find a crime. I'll prosecute them for a crime. And even if they're acquitted, I'll bury them in the media. They will be destroyed. Their family will be destroyed. They'll be financially wiped out. Even if they don't go to prison, even if they're found not guilty. But 90% of the time, I'll get them found guilty as well. That's the weaponization of agencies. And if you know this, how does that help you? Your eyes are opened. So when you start scrolling through the news, or if you're reading a newspaper or magazine, if you're looking at the internet, shame on you, and you actually read a headline and see a picture, stop and say, there's an image, there's a picture. Why was that picture specifically selected? They're trying to manipulate me, and I'm not going to let them. Be independent. Be at cause over your environment. Don't be a puppet on a string. Don't be controlled. Be sovereign. Choose freedom. Choose love. I got these books here, which I didn't get to today. I got the Bible. This is from the ancient Eastern text, George M. Lamsa translation from the Aramaic of the Pentateuch. I pronounced that wrong, but this is one of the better translations that doesn't butcher the Bible. And then I have a couple others here, and this is going to be talking about on my Sunday show coming up soon. This one here is the Ramayana. It's in English. Why has the story of Ram enthralled a fifth of the world's population for centuries? This is the story of Ram and Sita. It's the Ramayana, published thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago in Bharat, known today as India. And this is the Mahabharata, or Mahabharata, which is also old. This is old. This is very old. Old. Some say it's 100,000 years old. This was written after the Ramayana. This includes the Bhagavad Gita. These are epics. The greatest spiritual epic of all time. talks about Krishna, Vishnu. It's spectacular. The reason why I'm going to start talking about this book, in my last episode, or a couple episodes ago, I talked about ancient aliens. We have to write this down here, Trey. I need to get, because I looked in my file, I think it's in one of my warehouses. I need to get some good copies of the Book of Enoch. Okay? The Book of Enoch comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered 100 years ago or so, longer, in Israel, Palestine area, in a cave. In these jars, there were all these scrolls. These scrolls were the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, as well as many of the ancient prophets, the book of Isaiah, etc., etc. Included, there was called the Book of Enoch. These texts are 100% exact. The book of Genesis, the book of Exodus, the book of Deuteronomy, etc., they're 100% exact compared to any other texts that have been found. The difference being the Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest versions of the Old Testament known to mankind. It is the oldest written book of Genesis, Exodus, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Deuteronomy, etc. The oldest one. And it is 100% accurate because every one they found after that, it matches. There's a book in there called the Book of Enoch, which has not been found before. The Book of Enoch was part of the original Bible for Christians and Jews, and then taken out. The problem is, the Book of Enoch, who was the great-grandfather of Noah, the Book of Enoch is unique. It was written by Enoch, allegedly, because it's in first person. It says, I, Enoch, watched God come down from the sky on his chariot of fire. And when the chariot landed, the chariot door opened, and God stepped out in all his glory. And he spoke to me not in a language that I heard with my ears, but I perceived within my soul. And he took me on his chariot, and the chariot lifted off from the earth. And as it flew high above the earth, I looked down upon the earth, and God said, look, Enoch, at the round sphere you call earth. And God pointed to the moon and said, Enoch, the moon does not have its own light, but rather reflects the light of the sun. And God took me to his palace, floating in the heavens. That's the Book of Enoch. Sounds like a alien abduction to me. A couple things about this. Of course, at that time, nobody thought that the earth was round. And secondly, no one knew that the moon reflected the sun. They thought the moon shone like the sun. No one imagined or knew that the moon didn't have its own light, didn't produce its own light, but rather just reflected the light of the sun. But it's in the Book of Enoch. So it's a great book to discuss evidence that aliens came and visited. This book also does, because when you look in the book, the Ramayana, it talks over and over again. Ingrid came down from the sky on his flying boat and took Arjuna up. Well, that's all. Arjuna and Ingrid are in this one, where Arjuna gets on Ingrid's ship, goes up to Ingrid's, it says, planet, and stayed there 2 years. Again, I'm going to read you some stuff that'll just absolutely blow your mind. And I'm going to read some stuff in here and teach you about this that's going to blow your mind. I'll just give you one little trick here before you go. And this is something that most people don't know. If you are a Christian or if you follow the Jewish tradition, and you believe in this book as a holy book or inspired by God book or spiritual book, you may not have read this. It says here in Deuteronomy chapter 28, it said, God is talking, by the way, to the Hebrews. And God says, if you will diligently listen to the voice inside you and observe what's right and do to others as what's right, I will set you high above all the nations of the earth, and all the following blessings shall come upon you and overtake you. You will be blessed in the city. You will be blessed in the field. You'll have tons of money. You'll have tons of food. You'll have wonderful families. You'll have amazing health. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And there is more written about prosperity and success and how to attain success in the Bible than about going to heaven. But we'll talk about that. Oh, there was so much more I wanted to talk about. I'm looking at the time. It's already gone. Look, I am going to be going to 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, as well as Sunday's show soon. I think we're going to start in October. But I will tell you, I'm going to run October, November, December, then we're going to make a decision on whether I keep the show on the air. It's a lot of work and I don't get paid for it. I'm doing this for you. The court has ordered that I can only live on $3,750 a month. Anything else that I earn or bring in has to go to the government. So this is for you, not for me. If you want me to continue on this show, you're going to have to do a few things. Subscribe, and not just on the platform that you're watching or listening. Go to all the platforms. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Rumble, subscribe on Spotify and Apple, and Facebook and Instagram and X, TikTok. Next, like the video. You have to click the like. Next, leave a comment. Next, share it. If you do that, then this will start getting out and we'll start increasing the numbers, and then I'll continue. By the end of the year, these numbers are still flat, and they grow every single week, but they're not exploding. They have to. And unless they are, I'm just going to tell you, sayonara, I have a good life. I know this stuff. You know, I don't need to do this. I know it. Every day can be joyful for you. You don't have to be triggered by what happens around you. You don't have to have buttons that can be pushed. How many of you say, somebody pushed my buttons today? Or, I don't know why, I just get triggered so easy. Think about that. You don't have to. You can glide through life with grace and ease and have abundance in everything. Most importantly, abundance in joy, in peace, in serenity, in happiness. You can feel fulfilled regardless of external situations. You can feel love overflowing within you at all times. You can see love in everyone. You can see divinity in everyone. It is available to all of you. A joyful life of abundance, more so than you could ever comprehend. I wish that for you. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to make all your dreams come true. And you can. I'm Kevin Trudeau. God loves you, and so do I. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.